陪着不落地，向生命历历，虚空粉碎，放心当下起。Spring is here, the flowers breathe their fragrance to the sun. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself are just of us come. 陪着不落地，向生命历历，虚空粉碎，放心当下。Hey everyone. Good afternoon to you and good evening. My name is Heng Sure. Today is Saturday, March 2nd. We are truly halfway through Pisces, which is kind of scary how time flies so fast. Welcome to our lecture on picture biography of Master Empty Cloud. It is Friday evening in California and places. It is Saturday morning in China, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Vietnam. Welcome, glad you're here. Let's see here. Sarah is our Dharma requester today, all the way from Tennessee. And I'm going to bring up our Dharma request screen and then, see here, oops, that's the one I wanted. There we go. And ask Sarah to help us request Dharma in just a moment. First thing we're going to do is, however, we're going to ring our handbell 3 times and make 3 half bows. So if you'd like to join me in that exercise, please do. Here we go. Let's begin. First bow. And second bow. And third bow. All right. Now, Sarah, if you would like to request Dharma, please go ahead and do it now.
上听的僧听，为四法会记忆，皆众生，经转妙法轮教导我们，如何了生脱死离苦得乐。苏张无上. Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion for the state of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Okay, let me raise my pitch. That's not fair to you. Here we go. Namo saranto suchedoye olahuri sanmiao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto sucheruye elahiri samyao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons, but now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All right, Sarah, thank you so much. I wonder if maybe you're from Nashville, judging by the quality of your vocal. That's excellent. Glad that you did that. I wanted to invite everybody and anybody who would like in the future to do a Dharma request to follow Sarah, be brave. Send an email to our fearless coordinator, Chen Yu, at the email address in the chat box, and we'll set you up. And you can use one language or both languages to request Dharma and help us, help our lecture every week be done, as they say, Wu Fa, according to Dharma. So I think that's great to have new friends request Dharma. Delighted. And if anybody would like to listen to today's lecture in Mandarin Chinese, we have a full-fledged, grown-up, real-world 普通话 translation available to you on your chat box, the bottom line of your software, your Zoom. It says interpretation. And if you click on interpretation, you will see Chinese pop up, and that's the one you want. 就是说，如果各位你们愿意听一个流利的中文普通话的翻译呢，我们有办法。那个控制板，那个软体的控制板的下边右下角 interpretation， 你们有没有看到那个小地球了？你可以那里就是找到 Chinese 就可以了哈。Also, we have a Vietnamese translation happening as well. I'm delighted that we have volunteers who are willing to translate into Vietnamese the words that I'm saying in English. So good. So pleased that people are willing to do that and that everyone gets to benefit. Now, we need to continue with our protocols here. And I wanted to say that here in the Gold Coast of Queensland, we respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambi language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 就是说，我们恭敬地承认与冈北语族的贡布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Yes. Moving past the Pomo people, moving past the Ohlone people, we get to the bell song. Here we go. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他那厚德。We go, yeah. All right. Something fun for those of you here in the Gold Coast, or people who have been here. I was going through my archives, and I found a slideshow that I put together in 2014, I believe, of Gold Coast Dharma Realm as it was when we first got started. This was a picture of the original donors, Master Xuyun Lecture and others. This is me. 2004 was when I first arrived here. This is Rosalind. Here is Dharma Master Heng Sure. We were in Broad Beach enjoying a smoothie, talking about the possibility of maybe creating a monastery here in the Gold Coast. So that was, you could see that was exactly 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 2024, right, 20 years ago. Welcome to Australia. This is how it looked back then, the front gate. It's where we are, Surfer's Paradise, Golden Sands. Here's the front gate. Yeah, storytelling. This is what it looked like when you came in the monastery. That's, not everybody is interested in our branch temple here, but we will be looking in detail at this slideshow in tomorrow's lecture and enjoying how we have transformed since 2004. All right, storytelling time. Oh my goodness, we have some wonderful stories to share with everybody about our grand teacher, Master Empty Cloud. Currently, there are 100 of us online, my goodness, including our host in Fremont. Sarah was the Dharma requester. She's in Tennessee. Iwan is the co-host. Cliff is here as our interpreter. We have friends from Baotou, Inner Mongolia, co-host, Yundao Fashi. And we have friends from Stockton, Vancouver, Campbell, California, Hong Kong, Saratoga, Sunnyvale, Montreal, etc. Just so many places around the planet. So glad you're all here. Welcome, welcome. Bring your friends. We love stories. Let's see here, the stories that we tell. I believe I tried to find this a while back. Yeah, there we are. Okay. Here online with us today is Brian. Brian Conroy penned this song. The melody is by the Irish folk singer Dick Gaughan, called Your Daughters and Your Sons. It's quite a revolutionary, rousing, troublemaking song, but the melody is lively. And Brian, when we went to the Parliament of World's Religions in Barcelona years back, Brian put this song together and we first performed it in Barcelona. It goes like this. About the story, why bring this up? It's, we are telling stories about our teacher's teacher. And to be able on a Friday night or on a Saturday afternoon to stop the flow of the daily doings that we do and just putting our hearts together and thinking about a time and a place apart from ours. Stories take us somewhere else, another time, another place. And we, depending on the quality of the story and the skill of the storyteller, we can, with our minds, have that episode come alive. And these stories feed us. They feed us. They carry on tradition. They teach us language. They convey our values. They sustain the culture from generation to generation. And stories are us. Storyteller, elder, griot, balladeer, bard, grandmother, yarn spinner, shaman, shanaki, down through the ages like an echo from a shell, passing on tradition with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. We are passing on tradition with the stories that we tell. As our children grow up in a world so often cruel, we can teach them to treasure stories like a precious jewel, mother to daughter, ear to ear, drawn from the ancient well. We are teaching our children with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. We are shaping our future with the stories that we tell. Stories that we tell can help make lasting peace inside ourselves and in a world where hate may one day cease. If our stories ring true and clear as a bell, We can build a better world with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. We can build a better world with the stories that we tell. So thank you, Brian, for that, indeed. Let's see here. Mai has no sound. Okay, down in LA. Yes, there is sound. Okay, can we work that out? Hope so. She's essential to our translation effort for Vietnamese. Okay, so here we are. Here's our story today. Our teacher's 43 years old. It's 1882, 光绪8年. And the title is 狮子山寺过年, passing the new year at Lion Mountain Monastery, 狮子山. The Chinese goes like this: 江浦县狮子岭，在浦口镇西北方70余里，岭上有一大茅棚，住居十方参禅行者，道风深笃，圣命远播，老参上座，源源而来，参访者不可胜数，共亦顺道而至，恰逢过年时期，流度岁。On Shizi Peak in Jiangsu and Lion Mountain in Jiangpu, Extensive River County, 70 miles to the northwest of the town of Pukou, flowing, it says mouth, but it means bay, stood a large grass hut. Well-seasoned cultivators lived there, Chan meditation masters who were renowned for realizing the way. Senior Chan adepts and elder monks arrived in an unending stream, their number beyond counting. Master Yun also followed the path to that place and spent the new year there. So is it a grass hut? Yeah, it means not a multi-story brick and mortar building, but much more organic, natural structure for the purpose of meditation. So it's Lion's Peak, and it's funny, one of my very first encounters with Buddhism was also on Shitoshan, but not in China, in Taichung area. 我第一次遇到佛法就在石头山. I guess I could tell my story about that too. So this is Lion's Peak, Lion Mountain in Jiangsu. And here is, you'll see in the picture, here's a monk directing traffic. He's got a whisk. Here are laymen. That's an official's or a military hat. The monastery, you can see, is not made of thatched grass thatch. It's made of something sturdier, but maopeng means not a commercial building. There's a Buddha image, there's a Dharma, there's a drum, and Master Empty Cloud is still doing 3 steps, 1 bow. That's an important point to remember. This is, his pilgrimage is underway, but he could direct because he's traveling. He's covering ground very slowly, mind you, but he is traveling from place to place, and he is planning his route to Buddhist places where things are happening along the way. And in this case, it's wintertime, and what do? In monasteries in the winter, you meditate, 打坐参禅. You come together to do chan. 狮子山寺狮子居，龙象常处龙象期，大业红炉同锻炼，高僧大德从此出。Lion Mountain Monastery is where lions abide. while dragons and elephants hide away in their own abodes. Fused together in the cosmic furnace, you get smelted and forged. Virtuous, eminent Sanghas often emerge from here. So Shifu would call our Chan session the Da Ye Hong Lo. This is a great smelting furnace. And so what's going on? Well, it's a Chan session. And this was a place where what's going on in Chinese, they say, ke qi chu zheng, qu zheng. It's a place where you set aside everything else you're doing with your busy life. You put it all down and reserve this time, ke qi, to seek certification, qu zheng. You, during the time of the Chan session in the winter, you discover what you've been doing with your meditation the rest of the year. Because now that's what you're going to be doing, nothing else. You're just sitting, walking, sitting, walking, sitting, walking for hours and hours around the clock. And of course, people who have been making a lot of money in the Sangha, people who have been gathering a lot of disciples, building a lot of monasteries, using their time to do that kind of thing. When it's time to do Chan, they melt. They don't make it out of the furnace. The furnace melts them. Those who've been using their time well, doing business, dealing with the world, but also steadily, regularly, yung gong ban dao, applying their effort to cultivation, when the time comes and they're in this furnace of 12 hours of sitting a day, they come out smelted. Ding! You hit the glass, ting, and there's a sound, right? Because their impurities have been burned away. And they are now they can stand the fire. They're up to snuff. They can meet the standard and hold the Dharma. They are Zai Fa Qi, vessels that can hold the Dharma. So that's the purpose of the Chan session. And I wanted to give people a sense of it. You can see in Shifu's verse, what does he talk about? He says, there are Chan masters who are their Dao Feng, the wind of the way blows strongly through these Chan monks. And when you're with them, you know that these are people who can transform. They're not ordinary. They're different because of the internal fire of samadhi. They call it san mei zhen huo, has smelted away the impurities in their nature, their false thoughts, their attachments, and they are now vessels for the Tao. Being with people like this is extremely exhilarating and a little intimidating as well, because these are no-nonsense people. And yet, of course, they can be as silly and as fun as anyone or more, because they are wu ju, wu su, wu gua, wu ai. They are called guo lai ren, people who have no limits. They're not bound by any constraint other than virtue and kindness. Senior Chan adepts, elder monks, arrive in an unending stream. And this is where Master Xuyun spent the winter sitting in Chan. The atmosphere of a winter Chan session is yang. It's not yin. It's not kind of dark and unformed. It's strong and forthright. Very male energy in the nuns' Chan hall. It's the same. It's very yang, but for a traditional Chan hall for China, all these men focused on infinity. This is the point: is when men get together, what do? Well, first of all they want to know who's the alpha. They compete to see who's the big dog, and that way you know your place and you're comfortable with it. And there will be competitions to see who's the number one. In other words, external focused strength, competition of strength. And when you in a Chan hall, that doesn't happen. Because why? People turn within. The purpose is 回光返照. So there are all these strong men, but that external comparing of, cockfighting doesn't happen. Everyone is looking within. Outside, during the winter, if you go out and you're not prepared, you can die of the cold. Outside is harsh. It's really forbidding. So that works perfectly to turn everyone in, because you're not going anywhere. They close the door and then they drop the flap on a Chan hall. There's nowhere to go. And the inner weather, what's going on in your mind, is shaped by the Dharma, shaped by the teachings of men and women who, for centuries, have successfully shaped and transformed themselves using the Tao, using the Dharma. So it's a special time, and that energy is strong men and women focused internally. Now, once you do that, let's say you're not talking, you're not gossiping, you're not socializing, you're not doing business, you're not competing, you're not joke telling, you're not scoring with your neighbors to see if you can make them laugh or, get a benefit. No, you are facing this illusory tyrant inside the created self, who is also a little baby this time. Sometimes it's just whining, sometimes it's screaming, demanding, and then it's just melts in tears. You have to strengthen the inner child, tell him, come on, you can endure the pain in your knees, it'll be over soon. And then the same child who you've gotten through the pain, you have to say, I know you're not real, and I don't listen to you. You're an illusion. You don't exist. You're only 唯心造, you're made from the mind. These men in a Chan session are able to live with all these contradictions. Look at that. They're internally focused on this magic show of the self submitting to Dharma practice. It's thrilling to be in a Chan session where this is what people are doing. And you're in one room with 40 other men doing the exact same thing together and nothing else but sitting still. There's nowhere to run. There's nothing else going on. You're not reading. You're not watching your phone. It's amazing to be together with this group energy of transformation in the Chan hall. And it's like nothing else, I must say. So that's what Master Empty Cloud is doing at Lion's Peak, 狮子山, 江浦县狮子林. So, how exciting to be there. And his 3 Steps, 1 Bow pilgrimage has taken a break, but he's using the same mindfulness of his thoughts as he was doing on the road. When it's over, back on the road. Now, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to tell my story about Lion's Peak. In Taiwan, 1969, 1969年. Wow, so long ago. Half a century ago, I was a student at Donghai University, Donghai Dashi, studying Chinese language with their summer session. And, okay, got sound, that's good. 我在南京江浦, okay. Wow, 薛听听, all right, is there in Nanjing Jiangpu. 好，幸运，对呀。Okay, there's someone listening to the lecture. 你就在哪里了？哇，难得了，huh? So, I was in the summer language program, and the program was well designed so that every weekend we took a side trip, a field trip, out to places of cultural interest. This is long before the 高铁, the high-speed rail. If you went anywhere, you went on a bus called the 国光号, 公车, 国光号. And the bus line was called the Light of the Nation. And it took us down to Taichung, we were in Taichung, took us into the mountains. We were going to a Buddhist monastery hike for 2 days, spending the night at a monastery. And I had zero idea. I'd never seen a Buddhist monastery. This is before I'd been to Japan. My first trip outside of the US, other than trips to Canada. So we took a bus to the foot of the mountain and put on our backpacks and started hiking up and up and up and up and up and up. And in the mountains around Taichung, there are lots of little temples, little pocket monasteries. And by the time the sun was setting, we had been walking for about 3 hours, and we were college kids studying language. We weren't prepared for much more hiking than this, and we were really tired at the end of the day. So I think they fed us some rice and some mantou and some guoba thing, rice crust and stuff, and threw us into a tatami dormitory. So rice straw mats, Japanese mat with a cover, with a sheet to cover yourself. And that was it. So pretty basic. And for college kids, this is all very exotic and exciting. And I remember I fell asleep instantly because I was so tired from all the walking. And I think I even forgot to take my shoes off because I was so tired. And I heard in the morning, pitch black out, and I heard this boom, 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 boom sound. Had no idea what it was, but there was something going on across the square courtyard from the dormitory. So I got up, had my shoes already on, hadn't taken them off, and wandered across the flagstone courtyard to this building across the way that was lit behind these rice paper windows. And I remember seeing the lights in there, and there was some intense activity going on. And as I got closer and closer, what was I hearing? I was hearing a wooden fish. 木鱼, tung, 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 tung. And I looked in, and there were some cracks that the paper windows, the shoji Japanese paper windows in the monastery, had some cracks in them. And I was looking. Here were monks and nuns doing 早课, doing the morning chanting. And what were they chanting? 楞严咒, the Shurangama mantra. And I had never heard a mantra before. And I'd never seen monks or nuns before. I never heard chanting like this. And so there were a couple other students who, like me, had woken up, and they were peeking in and over there, and I was peeking in. And at a certain point, I was focusing on the sound, and I stood up again instead of peeking in, I just stood up and then sat down on the flagstone, the smooth stones in the courtyard outside the Fotang, the Buddha hall. And suddenly I felt the sound of the mantra coming through the stones under my body. And I could feel the sound of the mantra crack something open inside me that I had no idea was closed or available. It felt like a door opened based on the Namo Sadanto Suchedo Ye Ulla Hodi Samya Sanpuro She Namo Sadanto Koto Shani. The reciting of the Shurangama mantra, the sound, the vibration of the mantra cracked something open, and I knew I had heard it before, and I had absolutely zero understanding. I didn't know what it was, or where I had heard it, or why I would recognize it, but I did. I'd heard that sound before, inexplicably, no way to explain it. And then, as the chanting progressed, and I just sat there on there, and the sun slowly, the sky grayed before the sun rose, and we were up high enough that we could see the valleys and the peaks going off towards Hualien towards the east of Taiwan. And it was very much like a Chinese landscape where they say mountains and rivers without end, you know, peaks after peak, and then misty clouds, and then peaks like that. And it just went off, and the sound of the chanting filled all of it. It just, from the Buddha hall behind me, where I was sitting on the ground, on the stones, the sound just permeated. And I felt like I dissolved into atoms and just was traveling with the sound out over the central mountain range in Taiwan. So that was my first experience with Shizishan, Shitoshan, 不是狮子山. In Taiwan it was Shitoshan. Hearing the sound of the mantra and being atomized and carried out into space with the sound of the chanting. And of course, there was nobody in my group from, we were from, not from Antioch, from the university that organized the trip. I couldn't share it with anybody. That was too bizarre. I didn't dare try to communicate what had happened. I didn't understand it myself. And it was only later, after meeting Master Xuyun Lecture and learning the mantra myself, that I thought, oh, that's the power of the mantra, to act like a magnet and draw in all of the iron filings of living beings. So that's when Master Empty Cloud goes out to meditate on Lion's Peak, Shizi Peak. I can definitely understand how that might happen. Okay, here we go. Number 2 for today. Ready? Now 44 years old, 1883. He's, this is Guangxu 9年, 从狮子岭再拜, starting to bow again from Shizi Peak. Here we go. Okay. 经苏北入河南省，过凤阳、亳州、浩陵、嵩山、少林寺，至洛阳、白马寺各地。是年44岁，慧明风雨无间，如是行拜，一心称念。南无大智文殊师利菩萨名号，苦乐积宝，不动于衷，智智度怪已。Okay. The master then passed through Subei and entered Henan province, passing through Fengyang, Haozhou, Haoling, Songshan, and Shaolin Monastery, among other places, before reaching Whitehorse Monastery in Luoyang. He was now 44 years old. The master continued to walk and bow both night and day, through wind and rain, always the same. With focused concentration, he recited the name of the greatly wise Bodhisattva Manjushri. Because he had transcended any influence from external conditions, neither suffering nor bliss, starvation or satisfaction moved his mind. All right, so passing north from the area around Nanjing, as we've heard. He entered Henan province to the north. And these are the places he passed through. We know two of those, Songshan and Shaolin Si. Songshan is Bear's Ear, Shongershan also. This is where Bodhidharma spent 9 years meditating after Liang Wudi sent him away from capital. Shaolin Monastery, of course, is one of Hubei province's most, Henan province's most famous spots, and Shaolin Kung Fu is world renowned now, and Jet Li and his films have made it even more popular worldwide. Shaolin Kung Fu is truly one of China's most famous exports, and I have some pictures from there in just a moment. Master Empty Cloud went on to Baima Si in Luoyang. Luoyang is one of the cities most of China's ancient capital. Oh my, so much Buddhist history happened at Kaifeng and Luoyang, including Baima Si was where Buddhism first began, officially. The monks, Gobarana and his companion, came from India to Baima Si and performed miracles, and Buddhism first put down roots there. So Master Empty Cloud, bowing, 3 steps, 1 bow, 3 steps, 1 bow, passes through the ancient capital of Luoyang in Kaifeng, 44 years old, walked and bowed night and day through wind and rain. And this is one of the few places that we find out about his method, that he was reciting the name of Manjushri Bodhisattva. I don't know other places in the Nianpu, in the biography, where Master Empty Cloud describes his method, but here is one. Why would he pick Manjushri Bodhisattva? One reason, for sure, is because his destination is Wu Taishan. Wu Taishan is 5 Peaks Mountain, is the Buddhist mountain where Manjushri Bodhisattva is the Faju, the Dharma host. So he's kind of anticipation. He's preparing his mind, letting Manjushri Bodhisattva know he's coming. That's his goal. And as we're going to find out in the next week, it's a good thing that Master Empty Cloud kept Manjushri in mind, because Manjushri certainly kept him in mind, showed up at the right time to save his life, not once, but twice. Here's the picture. Notice he's all alone. This is Lion Monastery. The monks are saying goodbye to him. This is the Chan monks, and he's going down the road by himself. Hard to do. I've seen in the movie based on his life called Bainian Xuyun, A Century of Master Empty Cloud. They portray him carrying a rucksack, carrying a loose bag, kind of like a laundry bag, with his stuff, which he kind of swings it and throws it ahead, and then bows up to it, and picks it up, throws it ahead, and then bows up to it. Is that really the way he traveled? I don't know. That's one solution. We saw the pictures of his companions when they were still with him, who were carrying backpacks. But it's possible that I guess here he's got something on his back too. But he needs, a blanket, and he needs a cooking pot, and he needs a cup. He's got some possessions, almost nothing. But what are you going to do when you're all by yourself? Throw them ahead and bow up to it. 达摩面壁凶耳山，诸法魔汤白马转。如今仍有神光否？为法断臂红雪潮。Bodhidharma faced the wall in Bear's Ear Mountain Cave. Kashyapa, Matanga, and Gobarana founded White Horse Monastery. Now there is a modern day Bhikshu Shanguang who cuts off his arm in search of the Dharma and thereby turns the snow red. Okay, what's that all about? Well, people know the story of Bodhidharma's cave, which is here. That's it. This is Songshan, the mountain behind Shaolin Monastery in Henan. And you start way down below, down here, walk straight up these stairs. And Bodhidharma's cave is here. And then you can continue up and there's a peak. There's a structure as a stupa up above. So this gives you a kind of a context for where it is. Here's the cave. Some modern day monks and lay people. You can go, oh, laugh, look at Goji, look at Goji. There's Dharma Master Heng Lai, looking like a patriarch himself. Notice the eyebrows there, so, right? Here's a monk who is our guide. This is the location of Bodhidharma's cave, where he spent 9 years facing the wall, waiting for conditions to ripen. And outside the cave is the place where Master Shanguang, who was originally someone who turned Bodhidharma away, actually knocked out 2 of his teeth, which Bodhidharma swallowed to avoid having a disaster happen. And Shanguang, learning that this was in fact the teacher, the elder who descended from the Buddha Shakyamuni 28 generations previous, went up to this cave and knelt beside it, and hoping to impress Bodhidharma that he was a worthy recipient of the Dharma. And he, after years and years of kneeling beside Bodhidharma, who was meditating, he asked if he could transmit him the Dharma. And Bodhidharma said, not until the snow turns red. So Shanguang took out his sharp knife and cut his arm off, and the blood turned the snow red. And he tried to impress Bodhidharma with his sincerity. The story goes on, which I'll save for later. But it all happened here. And famous episode for the founding of the Chan school. And this is Shaolin Si, Shaolin Monastery. Here's Madalena and Guoju and Guoji, the Zhong, Mr. and Mrs. Zhong. We are friends with the abbot, Master Yongxin. He's been to Berkeley, he's been to City of 10,000 Buddhas. It's a very well-known, flourishing place where Buddha Dharma is practiced. There are 2 kinds of monks at Shaolin Si. There are what are called Wuseng, monks who are martial monks, and there are Fa Seng, monks who are Dharma monks. And at Shaolin Si, they need both kinds, because there's Shaolin Si is a very, very popular tourist spot and a source of great income for the province of Henan and for the Buddha Dharma. So they have performances, and the young monks who are Wu Sang, they're martial monks. They are drawn from, and I kid you not, they said that in and around Dongfeng, the city closest to Shaolin Si, there are thousands of martial arts schools, thousands of martial arts schools where people come from all over the world, from France, from Brazil, from Russia, to learn Shaolin martial arts. From the best of those, they send the monastery goes out and recruits young monks who then shave their heads, take the precepts, but their path is to develop their bodies. Likewise, at Shaolin Si, there are monks who do not practice martial arts, but are Chan teachings, Vinaya, Pure Land monks, particularly Chan. And Shaolin Si has a regular schedule of Chan retreats, and we were invited to go take part in Chan retreats at Shaolin Si, and the conditions did not come together for that. But so this is Master Empty Cloud bowing through, and so there's many stories from Buddhist history around Shaolin Monastery. It's the name is so romantic and so tied into Buddhist lore that many dramas, many stories, many theater productions, novels use the name Shaolin Monastery as the setting for things that they go on to tell their stories. So a big part of the Chan school's history, because certainly Bodhidharma, the founding elder ancestor of the Chan school in China, did his teaching. He said to Master Shenguang, who was there with his arm bleeding, he said, Master Shenguang said, "Will you please transmit the Dharma to me? Won't you do it?" And Bodhidharma said, "Well," he said, "does your arm hurt?" And Master Shenguang said, "Yes, it hurts." And so he said, "Well, what hurts?" He said, "My arm hurts." He said, "Where's the self that has the arm?" And Master Shenguang looked left and right to find the self. And he said, I can't find myself anywhere." Master Bodhidharma said, "Well, see how well I've chased the pain. See how well I've taken you across." So he couldn't find the self. And after years and years of kneeling there in the snow, the sudden awakening, the sudden release, even though now he was one-armed. And I have to say, kids, don't try this at home. There are people who think, oh, it worked for Shenguang, it's going to work for me, as they recklessly set their bodies on fire or cut off fingers. That might work for the Japanese Yakuza, but that's not in the Buddha Dharma anymore. So, all right, enough of that. Here is an amazing set of episodes in our story of Master Empty Cloud bowing along, stopping for a Chan retreat in the winter, spending the new year with the very vigorous Gaosong Dade, the monks, the Chan monks of China at Lion's Mountain. Then the Chan session's over, and he's back on the road, bowing. And it's winter, so you know what's coming up next is snow. And that that is that's an essential part of the rest of our story next week. Okay, something I wanted to share. I think, given the time, I'll do it next time. The same way that Master Empty Cloud took a working vacation from his bowing to join the Chan session, and then continued. Likewise, in the middle of the pilgrimage that I took with Bhikshu Heng Chao, midway, Master Hua announced that he was leading a delegation to Asia. The year was 1978, and the destination was Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. And so a large number of disciples set out with Master Hua from City of 10,000 Buddhas and set forth. Here is the delegation. These are the folks who went. And this is Liu Jisung. He didn't go, he sent us off. Bhikshu Heng Guan. Here's Heng Chao, myself, the Shifu. This is Yu Gokong, a physics professor from University of Alabama. Here's Bhikshuni, the late Bhikshuni Heng Xian, and Bhikshuni Heng Dao, Bhikshuni Heng Jie, Bhikshuni Heng Yin. Heng Sure is back there. And these are the lay people who sent us off. Quite a motley group, very ambitious. Doug Powers, Peter Schmitz, Alan Nicholson, lay people, laymen who accompanied us. You see Doug in his full beard. And we experienced the joys of traveling with Master Hua through Asia. Quite wonderful, quite remarkable time. And the stories are told in Feng Yan Guan Shi Jie. Open your eyes, take a look at the world. This collection of stories here. So I thought it would be fun to keep track of some of the amazing events that happened when traveling with a real Chan master in tandem with Master Empty Cloud's journey when he stops his bowing. In fact, both Marty Heng Chao and I continued to bow while everybody else was doing other activities. Our pilgrimage continued in the parking lots and alleys of the monasteries of Malacca, Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Terengganu, and then Singapore and Hong Kong. So anyway, we're going to pick out some stories, some remarkable and very funny stories from that part of the pilgrimage to match Master Empty Cloud's pilgrimage. That's coming up. All right. Thank you all for joining. Delighted that you could spend part of your Saturday or Friday with me today, and look forward to continuing our story. I'd like to encourage everybody to dedicate merit, if you would. The world needs our light, needs your gongda, your merit. So don't be stingy. Here we go. Unity wisdom and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Alrighty, we're going to bow now to the Buddhas. You're welcome to join. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week. All mutual full. I know.